All right, good. So thanks for showing up. It's kind of early, at least for me. I'm Italian-based, so we're not really morning guys. We are more like evening guys, but we have enough coffee in our blood already, so we can make it work. Okay, cool. So the title here of the keynote is the journey from the hacking subculture to modern cybersecurity, and that's something that's touching us a lot. Things have changed dramatically over the last couple of years. So let's maybe have a kind of provocative keynote, try to understand what's going on, what's not going on, and have maybe some discussion later during the day in front of a beer. So it'd be nice to hear your thought about that. So we talk about hackers. So most of you might know what a hacker is. Some other might not. This is how usually the hackers are the show, right? For people that are not this business, the typical black hat, right? If you have seen maybe Mr. Robot, that's kind of people, those one are the hackers, the bad guys. Actually, that's not really how things are. So hackers as a term has been introduced back in the 80s from the verb called to hack, which in English it means to take, for example, a piece of wood, which is maybe not really helpful at all, and make something out of it, like, building, create something you can walk on, or, modify the hood to create an art, right? Can be, for example, in Italy, I love cars and scooters, and I had like a Vespa already, when I was 15 years old. So how you tune your motorcycle, to make it go faster, for example. Those sort of things. So to hack, it really means to take something and modify it to your needs. So this is what the term is all about. And Lloyd Blankshape described it very well in what we all reference as the Hacker Manifest, that has been wrote by himself in the 86 after he got to jail. So he got to jail, he wrote this piece of art, which has been made available to the community, and we refer to it as the Hacker Manifest. So what's this is all about? So he said, my world begins with a school. So he was a very good, intelligent nerd, and as many of us maybe in the school, we were not so social, right? So we are mostly closed in ourselves, in our inner world. We didn't socialize much, and we are at the same time very, very intelligent. So he's one of those guys. So he said, I'm smarter than most of our kids. That crap that the teachers tell us, for me it's kind of boring, right? Because I get it very rapidly and stay there listening for hours. It's not really my taste, so I get bored at school. But at a certain point, I made a discovery. I found a computer, and the cool thing is that the computer does what I want. So it's not, it doesn't judge me. If I do a mistake, it's because I made a mistake. And if I screw up, it's not because someone doesn't like me as a person, but it's because I screw up. And so thanks to the computer, I managed to explore things, to understand how the things works. So we started exploring, and you bad guys, which are the law enforcement in this case, call us criminal. We seek after knowledge, and you call us criminals. And we exist without skin colors, nationality, and so on, because the computer doesn't judge you as a person, so it doesn't matter. And we all speak the same language, which is, for example, C assembler, the programming language. And you call us criminal. But yes, the conclusion and that he made? Yes, I'm a criminal, and my crime is that one of a curiosity. So that's the baseline of what hacking is all about. Hacking is like passion, it's curiosity. And hacking, it's also encompasses everything in the wide sense of the term. So back in the days, hacking was, for example, telephone hacking. So to connect to the internet, it was not as easy as it is nowadays. So you had to phone with a modem, you have to pay the bills. And the first hacking communities were doing so-called phreaking, which means like to try to bypass all the telephone system to basically connect to the internet for free. With the need of connecting to the other people to share knowledge, you are doing phreaking. You are also doing lock picking, which is everything that has to do with hardware security. I remember back in the days at the hacking camp in Italy, there were one of the first telephone, I don't know what to say in English, when you walk in the street, there are these telephone cabin, I don't know what you call it. And there was an option, instead of paying with coins, you could pay with a card. There was a card. So we basically, we took out on one of this telephone unit, we brought it to the hackerspace, and we started looking how things were working and try to bypass the system for telephone for free, basically. So this all go into what I call basically hacking in the wide sense of the term. And where we are all meet up are the sort of spaces what we call hacker spaces. I know you guys here in the Netherlands, even in Amsterdam, there are a few of this one. I've been few times in the past. I really love this place because these are a creativity place where people can express themselves without getting judged or evaluated by someone else. You just go there, you do what you really like, and this is a platform to express yourself, to feel yourself free, and to learn and to grow, and also to teach to the new community. And here it's where the free movement it's basically the baseline, we can cite what Stallman was saying, free as in speech compared to free as in beer. So we're not talking at free as gratis, but free as the French people would say libre. It means like free, the possibility to anyone, like to take, copy, and modify things, which is the base of hacking, right? Like take a code, modify the code, and adjust the code to your needs. And this is where all the open source software and the free software license pop in, like GPL, FreeBSD, all the sort of things, Linux, all those operating systems live and have a good life in that environment. We also see like free tools. So the first hacker community start developing their own tools. This is Ethereal, is an old tool that nowadays is called Wireshark. It's basically a network traffic tool. You might see, you might remember this gentleman here. Very much useful, right, to understand what's going on the network. So there was like a free spirit of sharing knowledge, of sharing tools, of sharing information, all that stuff. And where it all began is probably this first article wrote by Aleph One in the 96 and published on a FRAC, one of the first electronic e-design online, and that was about how you could basically take over a program, right? So there is an execution in the program, line by line. Then at a certain point, you do a call to another function. At that point, what you do, you need to save on the stack the address in order that you can get back to the execution, right? This is how things works. And you found a way basically to override that pointer. And at that point, when you return to the caller function, you can basically execute code. And this is actually the base of software security, right? So anyone refer to this as the baseline. It's a bit like the hacker manifest for software security and for vulnerability research. All of this got published in this e-design FRAC. You can see here also my T-shirt. And this year, actually, we celebrate the first anniversary. That's a hardcover edition that got distributed at the Y Camp here in the Netherlands, where our colleagues had a problem with the lag. And that on the left is an edition. I have a tome that was distributed at the camp in the Netherlands in 2001, so many years back. And this is like I think a representation of a hacking culture. So the need to share knowledge with anyone, as opposite as doing vulnerability research and selling, the exploits to the government agency. You know what I mean, right? And another very fundamental piece is this one you can see on the right side from Theodore. You might know him because it's the founder of the Nmap tools, the port scanning tool. I was not aware, but when I was compiling this keynote, I stumbled across this piece of this article that's dated back of 97. So 97 is basically how you scan the network to find open ports, to find banner services, and to to do all that stuff. So that one was also published in this e-zine. So there are way more than Frack. Frack is just one. But it's something that is still alive. There is a good community of people around it, and they always look for enthusiasts to collaborate. So if you're an enthusiast, I think you can try to reach out to them. So with these first hacker communities, at the beginning they were just meeting in hackerspace, but then with the advent of I would call it like free internet, in the sense that you pay. As it is nowadays, right? So you pay a monthly base, and then you can connect to the internet as much as you want. It became a bit easier for these individuals, to collaborate. And this is where the first communities start meeting up online. So it was the time of IRC, of internet chat, of these first hackers that wanted to communicate over the internet. And this gave basically the born to different hacking groups. In Europe, I want to mention the Hacker Choice, TNC, Chaos Computer Club in Germany, the Teso group as well. While on the US side, for sure, there is the Cult of the Dead Cow, very important hacking group back in the 90s, the Love Heavy Industry and Legend of Dooms. So these were like communities of enthusiasts that were hacking for fun. And back in the days, were a bit shady, so they were not really doing like let's say like publicly, right? But then things change, and we will see later in the presentation. So these are some photos that I took myself on the first hack meetings. This is a hack meeting we run in Italy every year. You can see myself up in the corner right, doing like this. So this is many years back. You can see I'm not as white as I am now. But to give you basically the spirit of how things were doing. Like, so back in the days, I remember when we went down to this stuff, we didn't have a laptop. We had like an old desktop with a case. So we were driving with a car, actually with a camping car, the huge one, full of this case, monitor, stack of beers anywhere, sleeping on the floor for 4 days with a sleeping bag. Really, I don't know how to describe it, but it was kind of dirty places, But at the end was really, for me, was some would fundamentally change my way of approaching life, not only when it comes to cybersecurity, but also to traveling, or to doing sport. I love rock climbing, and nowadays I do this camping things in the middle of a mountain, right? So the same stuff, right? You just go and you put yourself and expose yourself to a new situation. And this is where I first got in contact with the hacking community in Europe, like in Germany, in the Netherlands, meeting some of these guys here. So it was a very fundamental step for me. And the evolution of that are the hacking camps, like Y, for example, this one I just cited before when I was referring about Frack. So these are the evolution of hackerspace, where basically all the different hackerspace come together, usually every 4 years, both in the Netherlands and in Germany. And it's basically something. I mean, if you know what is it, I mean, you should probably give it a try. It's a really cool place to go, and you can experience what I was saying before, like what really means to be into this hacker mindset. So all of this is about the history of hacking. Let's now go what I call chapter 2 of my keynote. So we have seen before one of these first hacking groups, the Loft, right, that were originated from the US. So very interesting. In the 98, they went to testimony in front of a US Senate. And so that was the first time, I think was a very important milestone, because it was the first time that a hacking group was called by the government in this case to discuss about problems. And these guys went on stage very well dressed, and they were talking about the problem that the internet had in the days. And they were right. So the internet has been designed not to operate on a global scale, has been designed to operate on a smaller scale, and was not designed to cope with all the problems that there are nowadays about the DNS, about the DOS and so on. So they were saying, you know what, the internet is broken. And this changed a lot because put basically the regulator in a condition where they had to inject money to change the system. And it was a fundamental turn because it was a turn in which the hackers that were identified as the strange personality that lives in the corner, that go to this, wired hacker space, into actually people that can be helpful to improve the status quo. And this is something that the hackers know from the beginning. Because if you're a hacker, you're curious, you do research. The output of research is to improve, right? To learn something new, to do the next mile, to look ahead. But people that were not in that space, they didn't know. And this was like a confirmation of the usefulness of having this hacking community. And of course, there is an impact of all of this, which start with a change of terminology. So of course, back in the days were just the hackers were introducing a bunch of terms. You can see here like a hacker, attacker, freaker, virus, antivirus, those sort of things. But then when you start opening your community to anyone, of course, things change. So the computer security became cybersecurity. Are we all cyber expert? In Italy, we say, I work in the cyber, not even saying security, I'm cyber. So let's maybe play a game with you guys. So what do you think hacker is nowadays in here 2025? How would you describe, I'm saying of a good hacker. How would you describe which could be a good term for a good hacker? So not like, yeah. What's it? Security researcher, yeah, could be one, yes, but it's not that one I put on screen. What? Threat actor. Threat actor, I'm not sure if it's a positive or negative thing, honestly. Yes, this could be interesting. So I put up ethical hacker, which is, and white hat, yeah. So when it comes to attacker, I put actor, yeah, I'm a threat actor, yes, I'm nation state actor, yes, or I'm a cyber criminal, yes, so I'm an actor, yes. So what about freaker? So back in the days, those guys like doing hardware hacking on telephone systems. So how it would be called nowadays? Any idea? Voice over IP security expert. So virus became malware. Antivirus, EDR, commercial, and then IDS, yeah. IDS, IPS, NDR, and now we have a bunch of that one. We have like XDR, That's where we are nowadays. You know what I mean? And also back in the days we were doing vulnerability assessment, then became pen testing, and now it's red teaming. Okay, of course there is a change. I'm not saying that it's the same thing, of course. It's not just looking for vulnerability, it's also trying to get into the system. Red teaming, you know what is it, right? It's more like social engineering. There is also other components, but there is all a change in methodology. And this is also what we observe. We observe that the first initial hacking tools back in the days like Ethereal, Wireshark, we can cite more. We can cite Nessus, Nmap. How many of you use Nmap, Snort, Metasploit, all of that over time became commercial tool. I'm not saying it's bad, actually it's a good thing, but it's not easy to keep the balance between this line, right? Some of this one are still available for free, actually, if not all of them. Some are not, but this is what happened over time, right? So people start to realize that actually there was to a certain extent, the need to commercialize things, but also an opportunity to make money. So at that point, you're not anymore doing hacking for the spirit of hacking. You're doing hacking, or not even hacking, right? For the spirit of profit. So the things, I'm not drawing conclusion. I'm just giving you some thoughts for your mind. Also, the first hackers became cybersecurity experts. Of course, you know this gentleman, right? We all know who Kevin Mitnick, right? Of course, he created his own company. So from the most researched bad hacker of the history of the US, that got into the first government computer server back in the days, catch by police, became basically the first consultant of NSA. We have Mark Minfrit. It was like back when he was 17, he was basically arrested. And if you know him, he was the guy that then created Retina, which was one of the first vulnerability assessment tool back in the earlier 2000 by this company, Cybersecurity, that was then acquired by BioNTrust. So this is another clear example of one of the first hacker that then decided to create its own business, had a free version of their software that was heavily used and heavily distributed, and then software became commercial, got acquired into another company, and then is later my presentation. So these are the same guys you see here 20 years after. So the same last group got invited again. You can see here, first generation, second generation. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, Same personalities that, of course, after 20 years, things have changed, right? They grow, they got kids, so on. So now they are dressed, maybe in a different way. They are not as long hair as they were before. And then they went back to the hill to talk about the problems of the internet. The problems are still there. So, attackers are constantly doing attacks, even more sophisticated attacks. Problem didn't get fixed. And this is where we are today. So this is 20 years later. And of course, we were right, there were a lot of major security events over time. There was the Morris worm in 1988, which was the first internet-scale infrastructural worm. I still remember of this worm, great guys. The guy that developed Morris worm was a genius, a genius in the 88. The Melissa virus in the 99, this was the first one to spread via email. Was the time when the world has learn about emailing, So there was a first also commercial products in defending against emails exchange. That was the first email virus. Then there was the I love you worm, the first social engineered email, which was the time where, as well, social engineered emails. Then we've seen in 2007 the Zeus botnet. That was the first largest botnet ever. And this is also where the malware, the virus, changed and evolved into malware. So we start communicating over the network and create this botnet of infected machines. 2010, Stuxnet. So all the problem related to ICS security. This is where the world has learned about that also, ICS technology need to be protected. And then, WannaCry lately about the first internet scale ransomware. So there were some major security events over time, and these gentlemen here, they were right about the prevision. They were right that the first community of hackers were just discovering the top of the iceberg, but below the water, there was even more of what was discussed, what was discovered at the end of the 90s. And that was exactly a response to a real problem. If you look at the International Monetary Fund in 2024, you can see the number of these are the public security incidents over time. So there was a huge growth starting from earlier 2000. You can see here up to COVID time, 2019, 2020. But then what happened? And that's something that not many people say, but it's measured. There is a kind of plateau. So at the moment now we are in a sort of plateau on the number of publicly reported cyber incidents. So I'm not saying that they're not growing necessarily. Of course, probably they're growing, but it's not so heavy as it was here at the beginning. From 2004 to 2014, in these years, there was actually a super growth. So that's where the security industry was really growing a lot. Now I'm not saying it's flat, but we are not in the in a comparable situation as it was 10 years back. But you know what? If you look at statistics from Gartner, we can see that actually the growth of the cybersecurity market is still happening. So there is an average about 50% of year-over-year compound annual growth rate. And in the last 10 years, from 2017 to 2026, 86%. And if you look at the statistics here from Blue Tree Digital, we can see here in Europe, we expect this year to have a growth of 11% in the cybersecurity market. So the fundamental question is, are we in a bubble here? So there is really a need for such growth? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no, or is it natural growth? Well, it's up to you to decide. What is clear is that there is an increased demand of security professionals at all levels. So this is the growth according to Burning Glass technology in the last 10 years, since 2013. As you can see, there is a demand of about, on the right side, 94% more of security professionals join this industry. In particular, when it comes to automation and cybersecurity, on the left side, to automate cybersecurity job, like automating threat hunting, automating data collection, automating forensic, automating like vulnerability assessment, all that stuff. There was, since this is kind of baseline when you do like security research to have a bunch of data and to be able to then do some more sophisticated analysis. That stuff, there is really need 255% of increase in the number of job openings when it comes to that type of jobs. We will see later this one in the presentation why this is interesting. And this is also where all this certification came in. Of course, there are less and less hackerspace. Fortunately, there are more people connecting digitally online, and there is less interest. I don't know, maybe with young generation to meet in this, hacking communities physically. The university on the other end is doing a good job. So there are more and more universities that provide cybersecurity courses, especially here in Amsterdam. There are some good universities in that. So for sure, there is a good generation that is popping up from research labs in universities. But it's not enough. So what the security industry has decided to come up with is probably, you get certificated, you do a classic, if you take, for example, the offensive security, you do your classic certified ethical hacker certification, and then you're ready to go, right? Any company can sell you as a certified security professional and monetize quickly your investment of 6 months of certification without necessarily do a 5 years course or in a university or anything like that. If you look at the offensive, look at this one, the red one, there is a full pile of certification. There are maybe 10, layers of certification and associated names in there. So I'm not saying this is bad, of course. There is a lot to learn here. There are also some certifications which are very interesting to take. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are too many. I don't know. Maybe there will be more. I don't know. And this is from 2020, so it's 5 years old. In the meantime, while all of this was happening, of course, the world also moved forward from another direction. So there were some very smart guys that were not doing cyber, but were designing systems to try to automate things. And I remember when I was younger, 1997, when there was this made really big hit. So when Deep Blue managed to beat Kasparov, which was like the top player of a chess game. So that was the first time when an expert system, how we call it back in the days, managed basically to beat the human mind. And this was groundbreaking. And back in the days, I remember I was reading the books of Asimov. And I said, in the future there will be technology that will be taking over human beings. I said, okay, that will be maybe when I'm dead. But actually things are not in this way, right? So what happened is that they managed in 2012 to introduce a concept of deep learning, which is an evolution of traditional machine learning that use supervised learning, for example, to learn things. Here, it's a technique where you put up basically a network that resembles that one of a human mind, where you have neurons that are connected in a so-called deep network. And this network can learn rapidly a lot and can do inference on a huge quantity of data in a way very similar to how the mind of human think. The problem was that the computation resources to train that network were very expensive. So it was basically a business issue back in the days. But this is not where we are now. You have all seen what happened in 2020 when OpenAI introduced the first generative model, GPT-3. That was the first time when basically they managed to train a network which was large enough to resolve very complex tasks. And we can see here, this is a graph showing you how the computational used to train an AI system increased. So back in the day, back before 2010, let's say before the neural networks were introduced, every about 21 months, which is 3 or 4 here, there was a double on the needs of computational resources. Now we have seen like a spike. And this is this rapid push you can see on the right is due to the effect of affordable computation. And this is where, companies like NVIDIA are making a lot of money, right? Because you can take a GPU that up to a few years back you were using to play online gaming, or mining cryptocurrencies to run these models. So what's the impact of all of this? Is that we are now in a new innovation cycle. So what I was talking up to now, so it was the fifth wave where we learned, where there was basically the boom of the internet. Anyone wanted to connect to the internet. We had the smartphone. We had the social media, Facebook, all that sort of things. So, and we are a bit down on that side now, but we are expecting a growth when it comes to AI. And so this AI use as both benign application and malicious application. Of course, benign application, we can see here, it's about we can automate very basic things. And this is great because it will basically solve the problem, as I was showing before, of the needs of a lot of expertise in automating things like incident response, threat analysis, vulnerability assessment, and so on, which is wonderful. But the bad guys are also using it. We have seen cases of bad guys using AI for all of this: reconnaissance, phishing, housing, exploitation, coding, vulnerability research. We have seen Expo that managed to score first on HackerOne, this platform for vulnerability research. That's a company. And it was the first time when an AI system took over humans in that space. We have seen here at DEF CON CTF last week, one player of one team managed to solve a DEF CON level at the final in Vegas using an LLM. That's catching. We could see here last week the first LLM-powered ransomware. This came out then that was a POC by the New York University, but an antivirus software, I've seen it in the wild, pushed out probably on VirusTotal. And so that's scary, right? Because what happened, all of this, is that the bar is getting higher, both on the offensive side and on the defensive side. And my take here is that cybersecurity isn't going away, it's just evolving. AI is pushing us to be smarter, more strategic, and more valuable. And the future belongs to those who will embrace it. Thank you for your time and enjoy the conference.